Paws Academy. It's not just training, it's training that clicks.
Have you ever met a puppy who, say, looks like they're powered by that tiny motor that never turns off? The nipping, the zooming, the barking at shadows, the sudden meltdown because the leaf moved outside. And then, you've got your next door neighbour that knows everything and they'll just be saying, do you know what? They're just going to grow out of that. But there's truth here, and it's not always as comfortable as you would like, because calm isn't something puppies magically grow into. Calm is a skill, and like any skill, it's taught, it's practiced, it's reinforced, and it's protected. So in today's episode, I'm going to show you how to build calm on purpose without shutting your puppy down, without harsh corrections, and without expecting, say, this baby animal to just behave. We'll use what we know from canine learning science, stress physiology, and real life patterns that I see every day, because a calm puppy doesn't come from doing more. A calm puppy, if you will, comes from doing the right things consistently. So hello, I'm Mele Patience, and welcome back to Bark to Basics. This is the podcast where we take dog training out of the trendy sort of chaotic advice that you could see on different corners of the internet and bring it back to more practical, evidence-informed fundamentals. So, today's episode is all about creating that calm puppy. Not a perfect puppy, not a puppy who never gets excited, because excitement is normal. Curiosity is normal. Movement is normal. We're looking for a puppy who can drop down a few gears after excitement. They can recover after stress. They can settle when nothing else is happening and learn that calm behaviour works. So by the end of this episode, I'm going to have given you a full framework that you can use and start today. So you're going to understand what calm actually is and what it isn't. Say the biggest mistake you can make that accidentally is going to create a hyper puppy, how to use sleep, decompression and routine as your calm foundation, the training skills that instill calm as a default, what you can do to do socialization correctly so that it actually reduces arousal and fear instead of increasing it, and some sort of troubleshooting for the most common puppy moments that aren't particularly what you're going to be looking for. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest reframes, because as I sort of mentioned earlier, you've got your neighbours, you've got people that seem to think they know what they're talking about, and they talk about calm like it's just a personality trait. So I'm meaning here it's just a calm breed. Well, she's just naturally chill. I have a high energy dog, he'll never be calm. It's the breed. That's what the breed says. But there's a better way to think about this, because calm is actually a regulated nervous system state. So I'm going to say that again. It is a regulated nervous system state. That state is influenced by genetics, obviously, environment, massively, learning history, this one's huge, sleep and recovery, quite often ignored, and owner behaviour, probably more than people would like to admit. So if your puppy is constantly cycling between arousal states, so resting, exploring, playing, scanning for novelty, getting startled, seeking comfort, becoming overtired, becoming overexcited, the question is not, can my puppy get excited? They obviously will. The question you need to be asking yourself is, can your puppy return to baseline? Can they go from high energy back to settled? That ability, that returning to baseline, this is what you're building here. So I'm going to give you a quick science point. It's simple, but it's powerful. So you might want to replay this one or come back to it, because when dogs are stressed, we see things, changes, say, in behaviour and physiology. Research measuring things like cortisol, which is a stress-based hormone, can show that certain situations and stimuli are going to increase that arousal and the stress response in the dogs. This is why a part of why dogs are struggling to come down once they're activated. So calm training shouldn't be considered obedience. And when I say obedience, I mean like in inverted commas there, because it's also managing arousal. It's lowering the base stress line. And it's reinforcing recovery. And let's be clear, calm is not a puppy who's frozen, shut down, or afraid to move. Calm is not constant sedation through endless and endless exercise, so they are dropping. Calm is not they behaved once because they were exhausted. Calm is not tethering a puppy to a lead, leaving it there and just waiting for it to fall over. A calm puppy is actually one who's learnt, when I settle, good things happen. When I struggle, my human's going to help me succeed. So one of the most common cycles I see, and this is what I would call the hyper puppy trap. So it's where, more exercise, more this, more that, more something else is thought to be the answer. It isn't. So if I relay that in something that's maybe a little bit more understandable, so your puppy acts wild, you're thinking, oh my goodness, they need more exercise. So you increase the intensity, longer walk, perhaps you start to say fetch, and ball games, perhaps you do more stimulation, so your puppy becomes fitter. Then guess what happens? They become more aroused and sleep becomes even worse. Your puppy acts wilder and repeat. Now, what you've accidentally created here is a canine athlete with absolutely no off switch. It's like Duracell batteries that never run out. That's what you're creating here. So if you say you have a 14-week-old puppy who bites in the evening, that's the classic witching hour that you'll have heard me talk about before. You might see people responding with more play, more tug, more throwing toys, and maybe even a dog park. Please don't actually do that. And your puppy's going to say look better in the moment. And you know why? It's because they're busy. But then bedtime hits. And now guess what? They're still buzzing. They can't settle. They get mouthy again. And now you've convinced yourself that your puppy is just too energetic. But actually, and I know it sounds really super weird, your puppy's overtired and over-aroused. So for many puppies, the missing piece isn't exercise. It's sleep. It's predictable decompression. And it's learning how to settle. And we're going to help you build all three. So if you do want this, say, elusive calm puppy that you're not getting at the moment, you want to treat calm like a lifestyle, not a single training session. So sleep, actually, believe it or not, is training. Puppies need huge amount of sleep. We're talking 18 to 20 hours a day. When they don't get it, you're going to see biting. You're going to see zoomies, barking, inability to focus, and a frantic behaviour that looks like energy. But a puppy who's sleep deprived, they have, say, sleep debt, can't regulate well. Think of it more like an over toddler. That's exactly what you're getting. So the practical strategy here is to schedule naps, not as a punishment, by the way, as a biological need. So a routine that works for many puppies is, say, 45 to 60 minutes awake, 1.5 to 2 hours sleep, and repeat throughout the day. And yes, really that long. And many puppies won't choose to sleep if the environment is too stimulating for them. So you might want to consider using a crate if they are crate trained and they're happy in their crate. A pen, a quiet room, maybe even a covered crate for some puppies, white noise if needed. Decompression, by the way, is not doing nothing. What decompression means here is low demand. Low arousal activities that are letting your pup's nervous system downshift, go down a couple of gears. So a good example here would be sniffing in the garden on a long line. Say, do some scatter treat feeding in some grass, licking, say, a frozen lick mat, soft choy, appropriate supervision, and quiet exploration. So they're using their nose, but this is calm. It's not hyper. It's not super manic. The goal here is not to shatter or knacker your puppy to wear them out. The goal here is to shift them down a couple of gears. So, you're going from third gear to first. And predictability here is what's going to help. So this predictable routine, the same one you're going to do day in, day out, is going to start reducing overall stress because the puppy is learning what's happening next. I'm not talking here about some rigid military schedule, by the way. So don't think that you have to be exactly on it every second, every minute of the day. But I'm looking for consistent anchors. And by this, I'm meaning sort of similar times for wake up, potty, food, nap, play, train, decompress, nap, evening, wind down routine. You sort of see where this is going? Now, this matters because early development is going to include sensitive periods where puppies learn what's safe, what's normal, and what's expected in the world. Veterinary behaviour guidance will emphasise to you that early life experience, especially in the earlier months, has serious long-term impact on behaviour. So now we sort of know what we shouldn't do, what we should do. The next question is how? How do we do that? So if we look at calm as a skill, we're going to need specific behaviours that represent calm, and we need to reinforce them. So I'm going to give you some of these skills. Now, skill A is reinforce doing nothing. And this is one of the highest impact things that you can actually teach. So you're going to have your puppy, say, indoors in a quiet area, say in their crate, in a pen area, and you're going to sit down with a cup of tea, your phone, a book, something low energy, but you're going to sit near them. And what you're going to do is every time your puppy is calm, they're standing, they're lying, they're sitting, they're looking down, they're looking away, you're going to quietly mark it. So say a very quiet yes, like that. And you're going to drop a treat between their paws. What you're teaching them here is stillness pays, reward pays. You get something for being calm. But remember, you're not like, yes, wow, amazing, and hyper yourself. You also need to think calm, which is why we do something calm, like reading a book or sitting scrolling on your phone next to them. Now, to start with, you might have to sit closer to them than you would so that you give them some sort of proximity. And also, you're probably going to have to start rewarding every few seconds, and that's fine. Think of this as though installing a new default skill to start with. The next skill you can teach is settle on a mat, go to bed, things like that, however you want to call it. Some people call it play, some people call it mat. For me personally, I always taught my dogs go to bed. But again, it's whatever words or cues works for you in your household and that everybody is going to sort of remember. So think of it like a mat or this go to bed is your portable off switch. So put your bed down. The moment your puppy steps on it, mark and reward. Then you progress to sitting on it, then lying on it. You're going to feed calmly, low, slow between the paws and duration in tiny increments. Think again as we were doing for the first skill here. You're not like, yes, wow, happy. It's not hyper. You're thinking calm as you're doing it. This then, go to bed, go to mat, go to place, however you want to call it, becomes your go-to for cooking, meetings, visitors. Even when you're outside at the cafe, you're waiting in the vets. Your kids are doing their homework and they need some space. Anytime really you need to think calm, you can do this. And if it's on like a little mat, you could even use like a picnic blanket, so it's waterproof under one side that you can take to different places with you. Your dog's learned that skill is transferable to different places, not just one room in the house. And there's sort of a relaxation protocol called structured calm training, if you will, and it was developed by veterinary behaviourist Karen Overall, and it systematically teaches relaxation through gradual increases in distraction while the dog remains settled. So you don't sort of have to follow it perfectly for it to help, but the concept here is what really matters. So you have the calm position, say a sit or a down. It really depends on your dogs. For me personally, I prefer the down, but again, it's whatever works for you and your puppy. And you do a small challenge introduced. So that could be like you walk away and you come back. And what you're going to do is reward your dog for staying regulated and staying in that position and build on this slowly. So again, think slow. Don't try and, create calm in 1 week. It just doesn't happen like that. Go at the pace for you and your puppy. There's no right or wrong answer here. And then the next skill, and sort of one of the final ones, is capture calm in real life. And by this, I'm meaning teaching calm where it's already being shown. It's already part of your dog's personality. So if you see your dog lying down on their own, reward it. If you see them chewing a chew, tell them they're a good dog. If they're sighing and relaxing, again, reward it. If they're watching the world without barking, quietly deliver a treat. Do it or think of it like you're paying them a salary for being calm. Because actually, really, you are. And when we're talking about salaries, when your dog is learning something, they're on triple pay, right? Because you want to repeatedly reward the behaviour you want. As they start to understand that and they start to understand what you're asking, you go down to double pay, then you go down to normal pay, and then you go down to part-time pay, if that makes sense. Because the reason we do this and the sort of science behind it is because reward-based training is always associated with better outcomes and fewer welfare concerns than punishment-heavy approaches. You don't want to have to force your dog into something, hold them down, manipulate them with force, when there's such a better way, because when you're teaching it through reward-based, you're conditioning an emotional state of regulation. And the next part I'm going to start on here, because now we know why it happens, what to do and how to train it. The one thing I'm going to touch on with calm is also socialization, because a calm puppy is one that's had exposure to the world without them getting manic, frantic, and overwhelmed. So socialization, oh my goodness, let me tell you, this is one of the most misunderstood topics out there. So you'll have people tell you, and you may see other videos or listen to other podcasts where they're going to tell you, you need to meet everybody, greet every single dog, go everywhere, do everything. Now, that is going to cause frustration, hypersocial behaviour, reactivity, and also fear if you're constantly putting your dog in a situation that they feel totally and utterly overwhelmed and they can't escape from. So socialization actually is teaching your puppy that the world is safe and it's predictable. It's quality here over quantity every single time. The early months are a primary window where appropriate experiences, say, reduce later behaviour problems, and they also highlight the importance of doing this safely even before full vaccinations. We've got other posts and stuff on that, because when we're talking about full vaccinations, this is with sensible precautions. So you're not putting your dog down in high traffic areas. You could be taking them out in a sling. You could be taking them out in your arms. You could be taking them out for a drive in the car. But again, you're doing it in short and small bursts when your puppy is happy and comfortable. So if I go through some of these individually, instead of saying, let's go meet people, I want you to do this instead. Take your puppy, they can watch the world from a safe distance, sit on the bench, sit in the car boot with you with it open but securely, sit on the edge of a quiet cafe where there's not too many people. You could go to outside a school at pickup time, but park far enough away that you're not in with the manicness of cars, people, kids coming out. So what your goal here is that your puppy is noticing things, that your puppy is staying under, say, their threshold, that they can eat treats and they can relax. Let me tell you, if your puppy is too stressed to take food, you are far too close, or it's far too intense, or it's a bit of both. You can also pair novelty with regulation. And by this, I'm talking about simple patterns. So a puppy is looking at the thing, whatever that thing is. You then drop a treat. Your puppy looks away. You pause, you repeat. So what you're actually building here is I can see it and I can stay calm. But I really want you to do, and this is absolutely key, I can't emphasize this one enough, please avoid forced greetings. Do not let your puppy or strangers scoop your puppy up in their arms. Don't let kids crowd, and don't let random dogs say hello if your puppy is unsure. If you want calm, you protect calm, and by that you protect your puppy. And sometimes, you have to say no. And you might just turn around and say, I'm really sorry, my puppy's in training today, maybe next time. You can say it politely, but it is your responsibility as your puppy owners and your puppy's guardian to protect them and say no if you need to. Now, some real life examples here, I guess. So imagine this. You've got that friendly puppy who becomes absolutely manic. So the owner of the puppy has rewarded jumping up and excitement, but they've done this inadvertently. So what happens is your puppy lunges at a person, the person laughs because it's a cute little puppy and pets them. What's your puppy learned? Wow, lunging works, I get attention. Now, you roll forward 7 months. Your puppy's now 25 kilos and it's dragging the owner to say hello. It's jumping on everybody in sight because that's its learnt behaviour. So what can you do instead? Sort of approach in an arc. Now, if you watch puppies or dogs actually approaching one another, they very rarely actually approach head on. They always sort of approach in this arc sort of format. So when they're there, ask for a sit or just wait for all four paws to be on the floor. Reward that, by the way, if all four paws are on the floor and they've been jumping up, reward that in between their toes. Greet only when calm and end the greeting before the puppy escalates. This is how you create that dog or that puppy that can be sociable without spilling over into that manic and frantic type behaviours. Now, I'm going to give you a very, very quick, and you can tweak this and turn this around, edit it for your own household. It's really just a very quick routine guide of what a day could look like. Doesn't mean you have to stick to it. It is a guide only. So what I'm talking here, mornings. So you wake, you do, potty, toilet outside, calm breakfast. You're avoiding any high arousal first thing in the morning. Then you might do 2 to 3 minutes of training. So name response, hand target, a sit and down, say 30 seconds on a mat. You notice that the training here is very calm. It's low key. Then what you do is you go in for your nap. Don't wait for them to spill over till they're like absolutely crazy. Schedule that in. Then say midday, potty. Go out for a bit of decompression, go for a sniffy walk if your puppy's able to at this age and they're fully vaccinated, etc. If they can't, perhaps do some sniffy games in the garden. Now remember, if you are out for a walk, this is a gentle stroll. We're not route marching here to get to A to B as fast as possible. And you're sort of letting your puppy choose the pace. And I mean that within reason. When you come back from your walk, you might do a short play. So say a tuggy game with rules. So you do start, stops. You might ask them to give the tuggy up. So you're teaching leave it's. And you want to end that while your puppy is still looking good. So I'm talking here, no more than 2 minutes. You don't want your puppy to overspill. And then perhaps do some, go to bed, mat settling, play settling while you do something boring. 3 to 10 minutes here, build that up over time. And if your puppy's really struggling, start with 30 seconds and then build it up. Then you go into, say, another nap for your puppy. Afternoon, perhaps you're doing a little bit of socialization, you're observing at a distance, you're treating them for looking calm, and you're definitely leaving before they do a meltdown. Again, remember what I said earlier, you're thinking quality over quantity all the time. And then before you get home, or when you get home, go into a chew or a lick time to get them to start decompressing. Then you go into another nap. Let's talk about here on your daily routine what the evening looks like, because the evenings, I think we're all aware that this is when the witching hour starts. They can have mini meltdowns. So if you can, lower the lights if possible, perhaps go to side lights versus full lights. And again, if you can, lower the household energy. I know that that's not always appropriate if you've got children in the house, etc. You want to avoid wrestling games here. You don't want to be doing too much. You might let them do a gentle sniffy potter game outside. You might do calm chews, then bedtime routines. If your puppy is still being a right little land shark in the evenings, assume that they are overtired, overstimulated, and they need more structured calm, certainly not more hype. So we've now sort of covered how to do stuff, what not to do, what your daily routine looks like. Let's focus on troubleshooting when you've got some, issues. So some of the classics, and I'm just going to go through what we sort of get asked a lot. My puppy won't settle unless I hold them. And that sometimes people will hold them in their arms until they give up and go to sleep. That's actually causing dependency. Because what we want to do is we want to move that external regulation, which is you doing it, to internal regulation where the puppy can do it on their own without the need for you to hold them to go to sleep. So you're going to want to create a calm space. You maybe want to use that mat, and you want to start rewarding those tiny settles and gradually start increasing that distance. 1 step away, sit down again, reward and repeat. Again, go at the pace of your puppy. There's no rush here. You don't have to fix this in an hour, a day, a week. It takes as long as it takes, really. Next issue we sometimes see is my puppy is an absolute angel. They're perfectly calm at home, but as soon as I get outside, they're absolutely insane. And that's normal. Outside can be really overstimulating to your puppy. So the fix is lower the criteria outdoors. Reinforce check-ins, get them to watch you. And we cover this in our puppy club if you ever wanted to join, but get them to watch you, to check in with you. Do shorter outings. Choose calmer locations, right? You don't need to be in that massively busy park at peak times. Think about going when there's hardly anybody there at lower times, lower stress, lower arousal. And then once they understand settling on a mat in the house, perhaps try doing that outside. But again, think low distractions. Don't set your puppy up to fail by giving them something that's too hard for them to do or moving too fast. The next thing I hear quite a lot, my puppy is only going to calm down after I've exercised them for ages or they've had a huge run in the garden. Well, do you know that as we sort of spoke about at the top of this podcast, you've probably now built an athlete without the off switch. So reduce the intensity for a couple of weeks, increase decompression and sniffing, install mat settle and add that structured relaxation work. The next one. This one I think most people can relate to. I don't think I've known many puppy owners that haven't had this problem at one time or another. And this is they get mouthy when they're excited. Well, that's totally normal, but we can shape it. So we can prevent rehearsal by management first. We can redirect them to something else. We can reinforce calm off moments. We can teach drop, trade, bind it. We can, if we really need to, end interaction briefly if they're escalating. We can give them calm timeouts. I'm not talking punishment here. I'm not talking chucking your puppy in a pen and getting shitty with them and walking off, because that's not going to teach them anything apart from that space you've put them into is now not where they want to be. Next problem. Again, I think most people have heard of this one as well. The visitors is turning my puppy into a complete and utter demon. I think we've all been there. So the reason is that visitors are excitement, they're novelty. And how many times have you probably asked your visitors to ignore your puppy and they're like, oh, but it's so cute. And they run in and they jump in and they say, hi, hi, hi. And you've now got this really high pitched tone and your puppy's like, wow, this is great. Everybody loves me. But what that is doing is it's teaching your puppy to be manic, is to be that demon, to be like feral in the moment. So, number one, ask your puppy to ignore until your puppy is settled. And sometimes that is more challenging, I understand it, than the puppy training itself. You might want to consider a leash or have them behind a pen before the door opens. You can do some find its on the floor. You can greet in short bursts only, and you can do your mat training here. So that your puppy goes to the mat till they're calm, then they get released to go say hi, then they go back to the mat. So I'm just going to quickly go on because I'm conscious that I've been talking a lot today and you may be a bit bored of listening to me and I don't want, to run out of time for the podcast. But I want to talk really briefly before we finish about calm puppy rules. Now, these are what I would consider, say, your non-negotiables. If you do absolutely nothing else, follow these rules. These are absolutely key. 1, protect sleep like it's training because it actually is. 2, practice calm daily, not only when things go wrong. 3, reward the behaviours you want to see more of, especially that doing nothing. That is so, so key. Number 4, use decompression to lower arousal, not just exercise to increase it. Number 5, socialise for neutrality, not constant interaction. And that goes back to what we were saying earlier. Number 6, remember, if your puppy can't eat treats, they can't learn. You need to reduce your intensity. And number 7, calm is built through repetition, not correction. And remember, sort of number 8 here, but just more as a reminder, reward-based methods are supported across the training. It is so much better than with welfare than punishment-heavy approaches. So if you follow what we've spoken about here, you are by default using reward-based training. You are by default teaching calm. You are by default shaping your puppy into doing the things that you want without forcing them and using negative based or punitive type measures. So, to just finalise, we are creating a calm puppy by building a regulated nervous system. This is sleep, decompression, predictability. We're creating a reinforcement history for calm behaviours. We're capturing calm, we're doing mat works, we're rewarding that. And we're creating social confidence, but without sort of dumping your puppy in the deep end and expecting them to swim, by doing observation-based socialisation at a distance that they can cope with. We're not trying to stop puppy behaviour, if you will, but what we are doing is we're shaping it into adult behaviour. So that's it really for today, for our, this episode of Barks to Basics. So if this episode helped you, here's what I'd really love you to do next. Pick one calm skill, say capturing calm, mat settle, scheduled nap routines, and do it daily for the next 7 days. And notice what changes first. Is it the barking? Is it the barking? Is it the ability to focus? Is it recovery time after excitement? Because calm is going to show up gradually. It's not an on-off switch. But when it does show up and when it does gradually come over the weeks and months, all of a sudden, you realise you're living with that different dog. Now, if you want more episodes like this, subscribe or follow Barks to Basics podcast. And if you can, we'd love it if you'd leave a review if you've enjoyed this, because it really helps other puppy owners find practical advice when they're in the thick of it. Thank you so much for listening for me today. So my name is Renee Patience. I'm the founder of Paws Academy. I'm the host of Barks to Basics podcast. And remember, you don't need a perfect puppy. You need a puppy who is learning. And yeah, as I said, that's it for today, and we'll see you next time.
At Paws Academy, it's not just training, it's training